he's done it as a Raider. I think we all understand that. I think that's been leaked, but not officially leaked. He's done as a Raider. There's opportunities out there. Obviously, the number one team that being popped around is the New York Jets. And I'll just reiterate what I've talked about with you guys off air. I just don't think that's fine if you want to go get Derek Carr. I just think Derek Carr is who we know he is. He's somewhere between, he could be anywhere from the 12th best quarterback to the 18th or 19th best quarterback in the league. He's somewhere in there. And I just don't think he's going to get you over the hump. Maybe he'd get the Jets into the playoffs, possibly will, because that defense is elite and they're going to continue to take strides in offense. But I think there's also some questions about Robert Saleh. Is Robert Saleh going to be the head coach next year? And is the new head coach, I guess, is going to have to just get down with the fact that they're going to trade for Derek Carr. So, yeah.
Number one, Saleh's the Jets coach next year. I don't think you're going to look at this 4-game stretch of all losses by the Jets and saying 8-win season from Robert Saleh and a top 5 defense would merit him losing his job. If anything, I think the return on Robert Saleh is positive. For Joe Douglas to hire him and win 8 games in spite of having what you have labeled a bust, but more so the worst quarterback playing football, that's a testament to what Robert Saleh has built. You look at Derek Carr, friends. I'm really disappointed because you said Derek Carr can be anywhere from here to here. Derek Carr has been MVP candidate in his 3rd season. He won 12 games with Jack Del Rio. That was the first Raiders playoff appearance in 14 years. If he didn't break his leg with Amari Cooper, Khalil Mack, and a defense that still wasn't that good, by the way, there is a chance he could win a playoff game. Something Vegas/Oakland's not done in 20 years. Derek Carr never had a good defense. He never had a head coach. He never had consistency. He never had stability. In the draft, they go, where do I even begin? In 2019, Clyde Farrell, the 4th pick. Josh Jacobs, which was a hit, the only hit they had at running back. And then Jonathan Abram. 2020, you go Henry Ruggs, and then Damon Arnett. In 2021, you go Alex Leatherwood, who's, if memory serves, in the Chicago Bears. Practice squad, maybe. They're trying to get the first overall pick shortly, so he might be starting for them. Every step of the way, the Raiders have failed Derek Carr. Now, is Derek Carr an elite quarterback? No. Can he win high-leverage games? I think he can, but we've never seen him be put in that position. So now, you look at what Vegas has done, there's a $40 million injury guarantee if Carr got hurt these last 2 weeks. And naturally, you want to raise his trade value. Don't want him to get hurt. It makes more sense to just maximize the first round pick because up until this last week, they're basically eliminated. Now they're not making the playoffs. Jarrett Stidham, Justin, you saw him in New England. I saw him in New England. He did not look like that against a 49ers defense that for every game but that game this season has been phenomenal. For Vegas next year, are they rolling into the season after that one Jarrett Stidham performance and saying, Jarrett Stidham QB1? Could we, after this week, be saying Jarrett Stidham is the bridge quarterback in Vegas? What do we think?
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he can, earn himself a starting job, but the Raiders are looking to be Super Bowl contenders. You went out to get Davante Adams for a reason, and it's not because you wanted Jarrett Stidham as your quarterback. That's not the guy that's gonna take you over the hump. If I'm not mistaken, I read a report where Davante Adams wants to have a say in who's the quarterback under center. If that's the case, I can probably assure you that it's not going to be Jarrett Stidham. And while they had an amazing connection, unfortunately for my fantasy team, they had a fantastic connection, but they went off. But that was one game, and I feel like it was more the San Francisco 49ers kind of, I guess, sleeping on Stidham and the game plan of what the Raiders had in store for them than a very, very good Stidham. Because, I mean, let's be honest, he was chucking it up, man. My boy was starting that catch. I think it was late in the 4th quarter to get them the tie game. Insane grab. There's probably no other receiver on the planet that's making that catch not named Davante Adams. So I don't see Stidham being the guy.
I
Not
think
to
he
go that.
was. I think he's also I think he was probably more comfortable in that system than Derek Carr was because he spent more time in that system in New England. Um,
Yeah.
Very
he had
true.
he had the elite weapons. You know, Hunter Renfrow was back. Darren Waller was making plays that game. Devontae Adams, obviously, Josh Jacobs. I'm sorry I laughed when you said Devontae said he wanted say in the quarterback. I mean, come on, man. The quarterbacks are really the only ones that get say, and you have to be like Tom Brady or Aaron. I mean, I was going to say Aaron Rodgers, but even look at Aaron Rodgers. He's got no say in his own goddamn organization that he's done so much for. So, I mean, I did see that the reason he came to Las Vegas was Derek Carr, but he still wants to be a Raider. I think he's just saying the right thing. He's being politically correct. He doesn't want to be on this team. He sees the direction that the Raiders are going, which is most likely a rebuild.
Is
Uh, it is a rebuild. So, yeah, I mean, if I was Devontae, I'd be working behind the scenes. I'd be like, all right, I made a terrible decision. Um, yeah, I feel bad for Devontae if he's going to spend, I don't know how long his contract, 4 or 5 years maybe. God, spending it in Vegas with that.
well, is getting paid handsomely.
He
I
is
have a
getting.
question for you guys. The new Raiders GM and Dave Ziegler from the Patriots. Can the Patriots draft? Did they draft well as Ziegler in their years?
To be honest with you, don't even know who Ziegler is because Bill Belichick is really the person who runs everything.
So Ziegler has a pretty tall task. So initially, I was talking to Brandon about this. I felt like Derek Carr would go for a second round pick, but just given the certainty with him being a high level quarterback, he's getting first, I think, by the Jets. A mid tier first. Devontae Adams himself is worth a first round pick, I think still. Devontae got paid the contract, right? And this year for him, it's not what he was in Green Bay. So maybe make the case he's not worth a first round pick, but I think he still is. A top 5 receiver, 1,400 yards, 14 TDs in his age 30 season. I think it's pretty realistic some team get up a first for him. I mean, Marquise Brown's went for a first round pick. So all those things in the balance, the Raiders have their own first this year. So if Vegas has 3 first round draft picks, Ziegler has to hit. Otherwise, this team, they're going to be stuck with Josh McDaniels, a terrible defense, Max Crosby, just the Bugatti meme where it's stuck in the like the terrible garage. That thing, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. This is a pretty big off season coming up for Vegas, and I
And
think
I
they're
would
going to get a
love
lot of
to,
draft compensation. But the only thing that matters, the only thing is that they actually hit on those picks.
and I
All
would
right.
love to know sorry, just real quick. I
No,
would
yeah.
love to know the stat on teams that have had 3 first round picks because I think the Raiders were one of them recently. The Patriots had a 3 first round pick once. Usually they'll hit on 2 and then one of them will be a bust. You usually don't hit on all 3, but I'd love to see a statistic of that over the history of the NFL.
The Giants were the other one in 2018. Daniel Jones. Oh, 2019. Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, and DeAndre Baker. I think that's his name. He broke his leg. He's now in the Chiefs practice squad.
Go ahead, Justin.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I hate the slander on the Raiders. I'm not a fan. Like,
They put it on themselves, Justin. It's not
listen.
our
I
fault.
understand it, but the thing is, I feel like not enough people are really going through their schedule and seeing the games that they've lost. Like, this is a team that very well could be a playoffs team. Derek Carr is probably one of the best humans in football. Doesn't deserve the way that he just got axed from this team. Not even being with the organization right now. He wasn't. I don't even think he was there on the sideline during that game. I'm not a fan of it, and I don't see him going to the Jets. I don't think the Jets will waste a first round pick on him. I see him going more to the Indianapolis and being with the Colts because the Colts just keep going with veteran quarterback to veteran quarterback to veteran quarterback, and what will they do again? Veteran quarterback. So I'm gonna
Make it
say
end, Justin. Stop it.
he's going to Indianapolis in my mind, but or maybe even consider Miami.
He
But
has a no trade clause. Keep that in mind, my friend.
hey, man. But listen, I don't think the Raiders are as bad as they seem. They've had some terrible luck and obviously some ugly games. But I mean, before that, had they beaten the Rams on that Thursday night, if they beat Baker and the Rams, which they were well on their way to doing so, and then you add that lucky win against the Patriots, we'd have been going into Raiders versus Steelers with the Raiders having some playoff implications. This is a team very far not removed. So many one-score games. I can go on and on and on and on. I don't even know if you guys want me to read how many one-score games there are.
Read how many one-score games they lost. I know they lost a lot of them.
Chargers, Raiders, week 1, loss. Cardinals, Raiders, loss. Titans, Raiders, loss. Chiefs, Raiders, one-score game and a loss. Jaguars, Raiders, loss, one-score game. Colts, Raiders, one-score game, loss. Shall I go on? Rams, Raiders, one-score game, loss. Raiders, Steelers, one-score game, loss. Raiders, 49ers, one-score game, loss.
I just think that I understand that, but I just think that the sample size is so big that you can just kind of come to an outcome or
It's
a
just
decision.
right
I
there.
understand that, but when it
Right.
happens so many times in one season, you kind of look at it and you just say they are who they are, and they're a team that just comes up short. And that's not a playoff team.
I understand that, but an off season to work on that, they can right those wrongs. They can win these.
They get a
games.
quarterback. They're not gonna
I
have a
remember
quarterback.
earlier in the season me picking the Raiders to beat the Chiefs in that game in Arrowhead, and they were on their way to doing so.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, with Derek Carr, I'd still feel just as confident that the Raiders can beat the Chiefs on when's this game? Saturday? Yeah.
But
I
again,
have just as much confidence because I actually believe that the talent on this team is there. They just haven't put it together. I don't know if it's just Josh McDaniels is there. They're getting used to the new scheme. I think that is more of the problem, them adjusting to that new scheme than the team just being bad. So
plus injuries.
Less injuries too. So I really feel bad for Derek Carr because I think it was just him getting used to this new system, and he kept them in games. It's not like they were out of it. He kept them in games. Great relationship with Devontae. Devontae looked like he didn't miss a step from going from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. So I wouldn't have given up so fast. I think the Raiders. I think not enough teams in the NFL actually stick with the script, and they abandon it very soon, and that's the problem to me.
That's a one of the truest statements you've ever said. That teams give up way too quickly in sports in general. To be honest with you, I don't think anybody is going to disagree with you about feeling bad for Derek Carr. He got the short end of the stick in the situation. But the cookie crumble how the cookie crumble. So, and just it is what it is. He's going to get a new opportunity next year to right some wrongs, and
the Raiders are going there.
And the Raiders are going to go downhill unless they, can become masters of drafting and trading and scouting and whatever and developing. But I just don't think any of us see that happening. So, moving on to the Jaguars Titans game.
Real quick. Jay Ray, all that's true, but this was a team that got shut out 24-0 against the Saints and Andy Dalton. This was a team that lost to Jeff Saturday's Colts. So, yes, they've lost these one-score games, but the Raiders this year have just had terrible losses. You look at the Steelers' loss. I am a big proponent of my Steelers. If you think this is a playoff team, I'm sorry, you have to beat the Steelers on the road. You can't score 10 points.
No, you're right.
Those games to me are what did it, not necessarily the one-score games. I don't think Josh McDaniels is the head coach. In Denver, the issue was leadership and just kind of galvanizing players. I don't think he does that. His offense is also notoriously hard to learn. Maybe that is why Jarrett Stidham was so comfortable and looked so confident against that 49ers defense. But yeah, it's like you said, a team that really can't pick a side, and that speaks to their dysfunction over the last 20 years. I feel bad for Raider fans. They deserve so much more than this. Yeah. And they have an amazing stadium, great fan base, and a terrible
McDaniels is going to be there next year because of their hole they've dug with money. But after that, it's going to start. Questions are going to be starting to be raised.
No point having 3 or 4 quarterbacks. No point having 3 or 4 head coaches in the payroll if not winning more than 7 games.
Unless they're bringing in a top flight quarterback, they're going to regret this move.